So this is my first Silent Hill, and I cannot believe that I had this series sitting in my backlog of backlogs for decades. I've only finished the game once so far, and I had no idea that this game, like the Nier series, should be played multiple times to get the ending. And I know some people, they might think that's a bad mechanic, a game shouldn't do that. However, the thing that you must note, it's not just a different ending. The developers of the game also make sure the experience has subtle tweaks that mess with you psychologically. And it is very effective because you can't tell what was in the original playthrough versus the playthrough you're currently playing. The moment I saw the ending to the credits, I immediately started New Game Plus, and I am still hooked to Silent Hill F. As per usual, there will be no story spoilers in this video. However, if you are highly allergic to spoilers like I am, to the point where seeing something visually might just trigger your brain into predicting the story, I would say save this video until after you finish the game. One of my favorite parts of this entire game is the actual setting of Silent Hill. The town of Ebisugaoka. Sorry to all my Japanese speakers, that's the best I could do. This town is an amazing town. In fact, a town that I thought may just be too boring to play through was actually the very same thing that is constantly pulling my mind and my attention back to this game. This little town is set in the 1960s, a time before cell phones, computers, the internet was readily available. A time when people actually wrote handwritten letters and notes to people. This little mountain town, tucked away up in the mountains of Japan, is so creepy, yet so beautiful at the same time. I don't really play a lot of horror games, to be honest. The only series I have experience with is the Resident Evil series, which I adore. But the one thing that this game made me do that series did not, and I'm not throwing any shade on Resident Evil is top tier. But what I am saying is, Silent Hill taught me the importance of walking instead of running. Those of us who have been playing games for years, we tend to immediately start dashing the moment we have control of our character. But in this game, it is not wise to be dashing around this spooky ass town. The town, it almost feels as organic as the cursed curse that's cursing this place in the first place. So like this scourge or infection, the town has a lot of little crevices and corners, similar to like veins, where enemies pounce. The town is a beautiful backdrop for another thing that I love about Silent Hill. The Red Scourge. This Red Scourge is so beautiful in my opinion. And the reason why I find it so fascinating is simply because it is the perfect mixture of beautiful botanicals next to the vibrant pinks of fleshy organs. For the first couple of hours of the game, I didn't realize that this scourge was actually not all plant life. It's a scourge that looks like it's mixed with actual flesh. And I think it's such a cool effect. It literally looks like how mold or moss naturally grows. And it grows on top of Ebisugaoka. It envelops the town in such a way where at first you're not really paying attention to it. It's kind of like, oh yeah, a creepy game has creepy visuals, so it's not that big of a deal. But the more you play this game is the more you realize that this infection, this red scourge is spreading and spreading fast. And honestly, I could not figure out if my first playthrough had the same amount as my second playthrough because I'm having a hard time paying attention to what's different between the playthroughs because everything is just kind of merging. And that's another beautiful part about immediately jumping into that playthrough. I think it's like you're playing tug of war with your own mind. Your mind is asking if this scene actually happened the first time you played it. And you're pretty confident that it may have, but there's some little underlying psychological trick that this game is playing that makes you doubt your own memory. And it's so effective. And I think the visuals have a lot to do with it. One of the amazing parts about this Scourge is how this team over at Konami made the seamless transition from cutscene to game while this thing is hunting you down like a hawk. They flawlessly pull this off. In fact, most of the time, I am the one breaking this transition because it transitions so well that I am not aware that I am supposed to be controlling the character. It's a similar thing that happened in the beginning of Death Stranding 2. The cutscene plays and you just have control. And for a hot second, you're sitting there like, oh, is it my turn? Is it my turn? And I'm always blown away by these transitions because I remember a time when it wasn't so I appreciate it. I forgot that fog was a major component to the Silent Hill series. Initially, when I started this game, I remember thinking to myself, man, this fog is so freaking annoying. It's just trying to be spooky for spooky's sake. But I didn't realize that fog is literally there to mess with you psychologically. Because what it's doing the similar thing that the gameplay of playing through the story multiple times to unveil more and more and more. It's doing a similar thing, but it's doing it in real time while you're playing the game. The more you're exploring and the more you're going through Ebisugaoka, the more you're going through that town, the more the fog is pulling away and revealing more and more and more. And I just talked about the previous generations. In the previous generations, fog did not look like this. It didn't look volumetric. It didn't feel alive. When your character is running through fog, all they did was simply reduce the transparency of whatever map they put while you're running. This fog totally strips away your sense of security. Us as humans, we love light. I don't care what the basement monkeys want to say. We love light. I've tried it. I've tried to have a gamer room in the depths of my house without light and stay down there and play games all day, and it messes with you mentally, right? And that's because we naturally like light. We naturally like the sunlight. We're like plants. So the reason why we like light is because we like information. This is why as kids, we do not like to stay in the dark. There's less visual information in dark places, and your mind starts to create things leading to fear. So Silent Hill fog does this. It does this by obscuring what the hell you're seeing. I love how the fog acts as a signature for the series. You always see it. It's always in your face, whether it's light fog or dense fog. It reminds me how I tend to treat signatures in my own work. I want my signature to be seen, but not seen. So I always tuck it away in some part of the composition. And I like how the game has fog as a prominent theme, but you might not even realize it if you're fully immersed in what's going on. The reason why I like the fog so much is because I actually really love the enemies, because the enemies in this game are so disgusting. They're so disgusting that I feel as though I shouldn't like the fact that they're actually beautiful and well designed. While admittedly, I wish there were more, I think they're actually very interesting. And one of the first ones you encounter is actually a walking slap in the face to anatomy. These things move and undulate in some of the most bizarre, incorrect ways. I like to call them the doll blades. Every time one of these things move, they look like they're moving in pain. Every limb and bone is cracking and breaking, and it not only looks beautiful in a disturbing way, but it actually animates just as well. It's almost like this thing is performing its own interpretive dancing. One of the most fascinating animations of this creature is actually when it lunges forward and does a full split in front of you, and then proceeds to pull its legs back together and wiggle towards you. It is one of the most fascinating sights. I literally never got tired of the way these things animated. Even though I saw these guys the most out of all the enemies, I never really got tired of fighting them because they're just so eerie. And I think one of the most eerie things about these creatures is actually the sound their little blade feet or talons make as they're creeping towards you in this fog. There was a time when I was in a cornfield. I was downstairs by myself playing Silent Hill F, and I literally became paranoid. Here's what happened. Yeah, I was paranoid. I was definitely paranoid. There is also another monster that I would like to call our attention to, and that is in fact a monster that is 110% disrespectful to all mothers who have been through maternity. I like to call this monster the boob monster. This thing is literally the eruption of bosoms. And these bosoms lay on top of each other, almost like a small hill. To top it off, not only does this thing animates with very convincing physics, it also leaks pus out of certain orifices. Just thinking about this creature and visually seeing it in my mind, it is making me nauseous. That's how disgusting this thing was. And to top it off, this thing is essentially a tank that actively gives birth every few minutes and has the audacity to literally spit acid on our main character, Haniko. The enemy design is lovely in Silent Hill, but one thing that I must admit about this game, a lot of people do not like the combat because the combat is slower paced than a lot of action games. But over time, I got very comfortable with the combat. I was able to get into the timing and cadence of the flow of combat. Every game has its own rhythm when it comes to this, and I found the rhythm in Silent Hill F. But one thing that I must admit about this game is the lack of enemy variety. A telltale sign that a game is struggling with enemy variety is actually when a game uses a regular enemy as a boss in the storyline. This game would have benefited from having maybe double the enemies. And I understand making enemies is not like a click of a button. You have to like design and program the enemy and animate the enemy, give the enemy some kind of intelligence or something. So I get it. It's a tall order. But from someone who has been playing games for so long, seeing a variety in the enemy is very, very refreshing. So this is actually just a nitpick that I noticed during my second playthrough. My first playthrough, I was so enamored with what was going on that it literally didn't bother me at all. The game is very good at creating tension with its enemies. Again, the psychological tricks that this game plays on you, because it subtly introduces new areas for you to explore. Like one time when I went up a ladder and my heart literally jumped out of my chest, like right here. This tension, I believe, is sewn together by the immaculate sound design. As I showed in both of my previous clips, sound is used very effectively. In fact, so effectively that I can literally be separated with a thick wall of fog between an enemy and still recognize exactly which enemy is standing behind said fog based on their sound effects. And I think that is great. That is great. Enemies in this game are done very well. Another thing that I found absolutely fascinating about Silent Hill F is actually an element in games that I kind of find very mundane and in many cases very boring. This game took something that I took for granted for so long over the years, and that thing was actually the journal. The journal in Silent Hill reminds me so much when I was in college and I took all my emotions and forced them to create how I was feeling at the time in my sketchbook. When I first started this game, I did not realize that the journal was not just a quest log or a log or just a bestiary or a neat place to store all the character bios, but actually a living, breathing journal. And the way they do it is so clever because they actually present it as just a helpful guide to guide you along this horrific journey. If you actually pay attention to the entries in the journal, you would begin to realize that the more this story twists and turns and unravels itself like some kind of mutated onion, is the more the journal actually reveals its secrets through these very beautiful illustrations. It's almost as if the pages are screaming for Hanako. Everything about this journal I loved. Everything about this journal I loved. And I constantly would open it. I became so enamored with this journal that every time the game puts the little UI saying journal on the screen, I would get excited. Like now I'm literally playing the game because I want to have every single page filled. I might not get there anytime soon, but it's something that I aspire because the journal in this game is fantastic. It is my favorite part of Silent Hill because they took something so boring and made it so interesting and so beautiful. This is not only true of the journal, but also the map. The map also slowly reveals secrets that you may not have noticed upon first glance. The map like the journal, also has these very beautiful drawn illustrations that really display the state of Haneko's mind. And I just love it. Now, I will admit it was a little jarring at first to not have a live marker that's telling you where your character is in real time. Yes, it's a little jarring not having a mini map and all of the information that we're used to. This game is not coddling us, and that's a very, very good thing because it forces you to actually pay attention to the details of the beautiful map. And I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Fantastic. My final thoughts. Silent Hill F has invaded my life in a big ass thick layer of fog. And I am still spiraling in this fog as we speak. In fact, as soon as I'm finished recording this video, I am going to jump right back into my second playthrough. If you are a person that is afraid of horror, play this game. It will teach your ass how to overcome your fears by walking slowly through this nightmaric fog of a game. It is amazing. My previous video, I'll put a card, is the explanation of how I have viewed fear over the years, playing so many games and avoiding this entire genre because I was chicken shit scared. So games like this really, really teaches me to slow down, breathe in that fear, that peak interest, and walk and conquer. It feels so good. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. It feels so good. So if you're like me in the middle age and you don't really play horrors, play horrors. Try out different things. I'm telling you, it's worth it. It is worth it when you try a different genre and you are fulfilled in a way that you didn't even think was possible. Magnificent. So for those of you who have no idea who I am, my name is Jahbu Ori. I am a lifelong artist who still makes art with real hands. If you would like to see my work, you can head over to my website, jahbu.com. I have a small selection of paintings that I'll be rotating throughout the year. If you'd like to see more of my art side, you can check out my Art by Jahbu YouTube channel, card up here, or you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok under JAHBU_ART, Jahbu_art. Until next time, my wonderful, amazing, beautiful people, play Silent Hill. Play a genre you've never played before, or a genre that you have little to no experience in, or a genre that you only play one series in. You will be satisfied. Until next time, that's my second time saying that. One love, peace, and pills.